to my channel. This is Anani. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm happy to have you. Please consider subscribing. I would love to have you along with me on my journey. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in once more. I do appreciate it. Today's video, if you have read the title, is going to be quite an interesting one. But before we get into it, I do want to say announcement. Please do stay tuned. Within the next couple of week or two, I will finally be posting my how to buy a home in Jamaica video. It has been long awaited. I've been trying to get everything together in regards to it because there's also an accompanying kind of how-to booklet that goes along with it as well. So I've been trying to get everything together and organized before I release the video into the ether, but it is coming soon, so do stay on the lookout for that. But yes, guys, without further ado, let's get into the video. I know you saw the title, and every time I tell people this story, I get looks of shock, I get looks of confusion, I even get looks of kind of like worry, but we are going to talk about it in depth, and we are going to kind of explain why it is that this happened. So yes, if you've read the title, it is true, it is not clickbait. I have had on 2 occasions, not 1 occasion, but 2 occasions, a menstrual cycle that has lasted 4 months straight. Not like, oh, one day here and then it stops and then one day here, no. 4 consecutive months straight. So yes, we are going to talk about that today, guys. It is quite an interesting story, so sit back, relax, and let's get into it. First and foremost, what in the world? How does this happen? What occurred? So to start off this story, I do need to explain to you guys kind of the condition that I have. So what I have is called PCOS. PCOS. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you might not have. Basically, PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. And this syndrome facilitates a lot of things. So before getting into kind of the horcrux of this video, I do need to kind of explain a little bit of backstory. So I got my menstrual cycle when I was in the 5th grade. So I have always, especially at that time, I had kind of a sporadic cycle. Now, some of you hearing that may be like, oh, that's interesting, but some of you may also too know that when a young girl first gets her menstrual cycle, sometimes it can be very sporadic. So it's not always like, oh, you get your cycle one day and then from then on it's always like on that day of the month and it's just, you know, scheduled and all that kind of a thing. No, not always. So I got my first menstrual cycle when I was in the 5th grade, and it was kind of regulating off and on for a while. So flash forward to when I was around 13, 14. I was in the 7th grade, I believe. And I had not had my menstrual cycle for a very long time. I had not had it for a very long time. Something along the lines of, I believe, maybe 7 or 8 months, something like that. 7, 8, 9 months, maybe something along those lines. So I had not had my cycle for a very long time. Now, of course, in hindsight, you know, it may sound like, oh, that's cause for worry, but again, do keep in mind that during, like I say, these kinds of times in a young girl's life, sometimes it takes a minute for her cycle to get regulated. It can be thrown off for a lot of different things, from stress and all these kinds of things. So yes, I say all that to say, at that time in 7th grade, when I hadn't had it for 7 or 8 months, however long it was, one day I finally got it again. So I know that girls sometimes were like, oh, our cycle, you know, like sort of thing, like, oh, our menstruation and things like that. But I have always liked the thought of a of a menstrual cycle. I've always been a bit maternal in nature, so I've always liked the idea of kind of what a menstrual cycle represents in women. So when I would get my menstrual cycles, like I say, in my in my mind, I would always be like, oh, this is wonderful, you know, like, oh, I'm a woman, you know, like I kind of had that kind of a mentality. But I say all that to say that yes, I finally had got it again after like not having it for 7 or 8 months, and so I was like, ooh, great, like yay, like, you know, I'm a woman, you know, I've got it again, that's wonderful. So with that being said, typically when I did get my cycles, although they were a bit irregular, when I did get them, they would last for about 7 days. I had like 7-day cycles. So during, you know, this period when I finally got it again, I was, you know, sitting and, you know, expecting it to start slowing down, because if you are aware, you know, you have heavy days of menstruation, and then as it's about to come to a close, you know, it gets lighter and lighter until you eventually end it, right? So I was expecting, you know, it to start slowing down. But I did notice that it wasn't quite slowing down like it had in the past. So I was like, okay, you know, like it's still going, but it wasn't necessarily like a cause for concern. Keep in mind at this point in time in the story, I'm still going off based off of the fact that I had not menstruated for like 7 or 8 months. So I'm thinking like, oh, you know, of course, you know, of course, it's not gonna stop like at the 7-day mark, because I have so much backed up, you know, menstruation, right? So I'm like, oh, of course. So it gets past, you know, the 7 days, it gets, you know, 8 days, 9 days, so on and so forth. Still not thinking really anything of it, right? It even goes all the way up, like the weeks passed and it goes to a month and I'm still menstruating. So of course, you know, I'm talking to my mom about this during the process that it's happening, and, you know, we are kind of under the same kind of conclusion, right? That, oh, this is happening basically because, you know, you didn't have your cycle for all of those months, so this is just basically backup. Like your body is just catching up, right? So we're kind of in this mindset, this thought process. So we're not really thinking anything of it. Time still goes on. We're at like month 2. Again, not thinking anything majorly wrong, but we are kind of starting to raise an eyebrow, because we are like, okay, you know, I get it, you know, you hadn't had your cycle for a while, but it's still like, you know, like it's still like, that's a little interesting. So yes, at the conclusion of the 2-month mark, that is when things start getting like, okay, this is not quite what we thought, right? Like this is not quite what we were thinking. At that moment, like at the conclusion of the 2-month mark, like at the 3-month mark, this is when my body started taking like a major hit, right? So you can imagine, I'll like try to put up the statistics of about how much blood a woman expels during her menstruation. So you can imagine that during this time, I am losing a lot of blood. And so with that comes a lot of different things. I started getting very weak, very, very, very weak. I developed kind of like anemia. Obviously, you know, you're losing a lot of blood. Obviously, that would be kind of one of the side effects of that. I had high blood pressure, like that kind of started occurring. I would stand up, feel extremely dizzy. I would even get banging headaches. The school I attended at the time, it was like a tiered school, so it was like multiple flights of stairs. So just walking up 1 or 2 stairs, I was lightheaded. I had to take a break. Like my head was just pounding. Like it was clear as day. Also too, like I am a chocolate melanated girl through and through, but you could start seeing the fact that I was turning pale. Like it was looking a little strange. Like I was turning pale, And not just like, oh, you need some more sun pale. No, it was like visibly you could tell that I was kind of having a hard time. Like I say, during this point in time, it's getting clear, like this isn't quite what we thought of, just, oh, backup blood expelling. Like this is something like, okay, let's see if we can figure it out. So again, I'm talking to my mom, and kind of at this time, like I say, it's now getting to the point where it's starting to look a bit noticeable. And she's like, hey, I'm thinking we need to like take you to the doctor. I'm thinking we need to take you to the doctor, thinking we need to get you checked out. Now, let me preface this by saying, I am terrified. I am terrified of doctors. I don't like doctors. They're wonderful at their profession, but I'm saying just the thought of doctors, I don't like it. I get very uncomfortable. I am terrified of needles. I don't like blood. It makes me like very nervous, like when it's being expelled from your arm and stuff like that. Like it creeps me out. So at this point in time, it's getting a little bit noticeable, but I'm telling my mom, like, oh no, like I'm fine, like I don't want to do that, let's just keep riding it out, like let's just keep saying, maybe one day, one of these days is gonna stop, one of these days is gonna let up, and things of that nature. So they're giving me like the side eye, but again, I'm kind of telling them like, no, like it's I'm fine, and things of that nature. So flash forward, we get to month 4, and again, it's clear. It's clear at this point, no, like everything is not necessarily okay. I've gotten weaker. I've gotten clearly, like I say, you can tell that I have been losing blood. You can tell I've been losing nutrients. You can tell that I was like having a hard time. And so at this point in time, my mom's like, absolutely not. I'm sorry, this is just not, no. Like you're saying whatever, but absolutely not. We're not doing this. Like she definitely like pulled major maternal rank. And like I say, we were trying to see like how it would pan out, things like that. But at this point, she was like, absolutely not. So again, mind you also too, I'm still terrified. I'm like, Mom, no, like I'm not going to the doctor. Like absolutely not. Like do not take me to the doctor. And basically we come to like an agreement. She's like, okay, you're fighting me tooth and nail. You're not wanting to go to a doctor. Well, how about we just go to Planned Parenthood? Let's try Planned Parenthood, right? So yes, let's talk about this for a moment. So when you hear the words Planned Parenthood, I know people immediately are starting to think of, ending of pregnancy. I don't want to say the exact words. I don't know if it'll shadow ban me or whatever. But that is actually not always the case. Planned Parenthood also has a lot of other different types of resources. So at this point in time, why did my mom say, okay, maybe let's try Planned Parenthood? At this point in time, she was doing a lot of research. She had been researching, here and there, which is also too like why we decided like, okay, let's try to give it some time. But no, so as she's doing like more extensive research, she comes to the conclusion like, I think this might be what you actually have. Like, I think this might be what it is. And that's where she kind of saw that, oh, it's PCOS. Like, I'm thinking it's PCOS. So she's like, okay, before, we do all this, let's compromise, let's go to Planned Parenthood, let's try this, see if this is the cause, see if this works, right? So I do agree, and even then I'm like, Mom, is it gonna be needles? She's like, girl, I don't care, like, you're going, like, this is our compromise, you're going. So yes, I go to Planned Parenthood, and we're going there for a specific reason. We're going there to get birth control pills. Now, we're gonna discuss more about why in which that can aid with PCOS in a second, but yes, we were going there to get birth control pills. So I go in, I fill out the information, and people were very nice, and they take me back and ask me some questions and things of that nature, and I end up walking out with a prescription for the birth control pills. Now, there are 2 different types of pills from my knowledge that you can get. There is a estrogen based birth control pill, and there's kind of like a hybrid birth control pill or just progesterone. So yes, because of my high blood pressure, at that time, because they did take my blood pressure. It was high, obviously. Because of my high blood pressure, when that occurs, they don't give you the estrogen only pill, because that could put you at risk for other things. So when you have high blood pressure, they give you just the progesterone only birth control pill. So I get that prescription. I go to, I believe it was Walgreens, gave them the prescription, filled it out, and then they give it back to me. And again, at this point in time, you also feel like I'm very nervous, like I'm just hoping that this works and things like that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like if not, then like, whoa. So I start taking the pill, and when I tell you guys, within 3 days, by 5 days, it was completely stopped. All of that bleeding completely stopped. And when I tell you, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like, it was so relieving, because like I say, like, so I don't go into like super graphic details, but there's a lot that comes with like menstruating that much for that long of a time, non-stop. Like, it was absolutely insane. And I know sometimes you see on like social media, sometimes the girls are like, who uses these pads? Like the maxi pads are like, who uses these? Like, what are these for? They were for girls like me. Okay, they were for girls like me, and they saved my life, because let me tell you something, like it was absolutely crazy. It was crazy. But when I took the pills, immediately, like my body started reconfiguring, right? And like I completely stopped that bleed, which was wonderful. So like I say, I was on the progesterone pill. Like I said, I can't remember if it was a hybrid between progesterone and estrogen, or if it was just progesterone. However, when you have PCOS, in some instances, I'll speak on my instance. So in my instance, come to find out, the reason that I was bleeding non-stop like that for that long of a time is basically because my body was not releasing the proper amount of the hormone progesterone, right? Now, my body wasn't getting the signals that, oh, okay, like you're done, like, you know, like you're done menstruating, like it's time for your body to reset another cycle, like let's release the progesterone and stuff like that. Was not doing that. So that is a very vital thing that needs to happen, because your body is very intricate. So yes, with all of that, when I took the progesterone only pill, it released that hormone that enabled my body to say, oh, hey, wait a minute, we're done now. We're done with that cycle right now. So yes, that is why that pill helped me very much. And that is why sometimes when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, you take birth control pills. So I took the pill, and like I say, I know it can be controversial, even the taking of a pill, you know, depending on who you are, or your thought process, or things of that nature. But like I say, I was in such a state that I needed that in order to begin healing, right? Like I say, we all know, and depending on your thought process, we all know birth control pills, sometimes the side effects aren't the best, and you know, we do know it's not a real bleed on your cycle, it's a pill bleed, and we know all of these things. But like I say, it's something that I needed in order to jumpstart my healing process. So once I was able to stop and reset and then start getting my menstrual cycles like on regularly scheduled programs, my mom, again, now that she was aware of what I had and that, oh yes, this is exactly what that was, she started to be able to do proper research on how to naturally heal PCOS, because if you do Google, you will see that it's not necessarily curable, but I do say heal because it actually can be extremely manageable with proper diet and things of that nature, which we will talk about eventually. But yes, so she started doing her research on how to naturally maintain yourself with this syndrome. So one of the things that she learned about that really did help me, and I do recommend it as well. If you want to try it, if you're suffering from PCOS or something similar and things of that nature, do your own research, of course, but this is something that definitely worked for me. Maca root. Maca root helped me a lot. It definitely helped me a lot. After I kind of like got off of the birth control pill eventually, sometimes I did still have like irregular periods just because it comes with the syndrome. So whenever it was about time for me to start menstruating, I would take maca root, and that would help me actually start, like jumpstart my cycle, which was amazing. It's amazing what herbs can do, but yes, it did. And then the maca root in conjunction with, my mother actually came up with kind of like this technique of a uterine massage for me to do. Because of course polycystic ovarian syndrome, hence the name, sometimes there are polyps on the uterus, so, or the ovaries rather. So I would lay back and I would apply pressure to like the right under my navel, like kind of where like your ovaries and things like that would be, and I would kind of like go like to the sides and underneath and stuff like that, and kind of do like that massage, and that really helped. You could even like kind of hear sometimes, like as I was doing the massage, like even like you could feel kind of like the I don't know if how I want to say it, popping, but you could actually feel like it was definitely doing something. And then of course that in conjunction with the maca root, I would immediately start my period, have my proper cycle, and then it would end when it needed to end and things like that. So that is definitely something that I did that very much helped me. Like I said, that massage, I would massage right under my navel. I would massage like underneath but on the sides, like I said, kind of where my ovaries would be, and it very much helped. That very much helped me. Also too, eating right. So healthy diet is absolutely pivotal. When you have PCOS, like I said, this is a manageable syndrome. People can still get pregnant with this syndrome and things like that, but diet is critical. Diet is critical. There are foods that you should probably eat. I will put them on the screen that definitely do help PCOS. But yes, I started kind of changing the way I was eating healthier and things like that, and it definitely also to help me maintain. Now, of course, flash forward, like I said in the intro, I have had this condition, or that I've had that symptom where I had consecutive months of bleeding 2 times in my life. So flash forward, I actually had it recently, maybe about a year ago. I was eating horribly. I was under a lot of stress. If you guys have seen my depression video, you will kind of know a little bit about that. But I was completely down and out. And stress is also a major contributing factor to having certain symptoms triggered in your PCOS. So yes, I had that issue again, but again I had to get back on the birth control pills just to kind of get myself comfortable so I would stop bleeding, and then I was able to kind of try to get back on track. Now I do have, like my regular menstrual cycles again, but it is something that I am working on, trying to eat better and eat a diet that is PCOS conducive, sort of a thing that helps with PCOS, which is again some content that I will be having in the future, where you'll see me cook meals and try different things and things like that that do help with PCOS, because it is something that can be a nuisance in your daily life. Like I say, PCOS constitutes a lot of things. There are some women that you'll see with PCOS that have excess facial hair. That comes with it. Sometimes the spectrum slides. Sometimes women may have less. Sometimes women may have more. Again, also to weight gain. With this condition, it is very easy to gain weight, very hard to lose weight, and that can be frustrating, and that can get you sad and stressed. Also too, with this condition, depression can be a symptom of this condition, of course, because it's hormone imbalances in the body and things like that, so you can be very susceptible to those things as well. So it is important for me to get back on track and try to be the healthiest version of myself possible, because it it has major effects when not taken seriously. And like, so yes guys, that is the end of today's video. Like I say, it was quite a roller coaster. It was quite a journey having that condition. It was not for the faint of heart. I'm very glad that I overcame it, and now I have tips and tools on how to handle it, although like I say, I need to do better and get my diet under control and things of that nature, so I can live a more conducive life with this condition. You know, I don't want to be slave to it, you know, for the rest of my life. So yes, I will be doing that. But again, if you guys have stuck around for the end of this video, I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. You can find another video here kind of about my depression journey, or you can, you know, look at my other ones about kind of like why I'm leaving America and things of that nature. But yes, without stalling any longer, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.